out of nowhere, my brother calls me and says, "Hey, you would make a great implementer." I said, "That sounds painful." Yeah.
Had you heard of EOS at that
No,
point?
no, not at all. And I was like, I'm not good with my hands, like I'm more of a voice person. And just under 2 years ago, I became a business and leadership coach. And now I have the pleasure of meeting people like yourself.
Which is great. And we appreciate those of you guys that are joining us. We have Joseph Jaffe here. He's an EOS implementer at Outpace. And this is Touchstone Talks, where you can get all the information you need for your ownership of your own businesses. Running on EOS is great. We run on EOS at Touchstone. Joseph is our implementer. He's made a huge difference in how we're all rowing in the same direction. And I just can't say enough good things about the program and your operation.
And I can't say enough good things about the leadership team. Gino, after he's run himself, he's the founder of EOS. He's run over 2,000 sessions. And he wrote an article. It really connected with me. And he said, in his opinion, and he has an opinion because 2,000 sessions, that's
a lot,
over 14,000 hours. He said there is only one determinant of success in a business. Only one. He said there isn't even a close second. The difference between success and the rest, or not success, is a strong leadership team. And so in many respects, that's what I do. That's what we do. We build strong leadership teams. I'm reading another book at the moment called, I start lots of books, I don't always finish them, called Who Not How. And in the book, it actually talks about Michael Jordan. It says in the first 6 years of his career with the Chicago Bulls, they won nothing. In fact, they got trounced year in, year out by the Pistons. And it wasn't until Scottie Pippen joined, and then, thank goodness for a coach, Phil Jackson, that ultimately building a team around him, and he became part of a team, that they found success. So it's been very interesting. So I send the compliment back to you as well. Seeing how you've evolved as a leadership team has just been, has been joyous to behold.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate it. It's not, operating a business, we all know, is not for the faint of heart. It's not something that is innate in every single person. And so surrounding yourself with the people that you need to have a successful leadership team and going through that process it's work.
And the thing that I came into this under the belief that you have to be a masochist to be an entrepreneur. You've got to love, it helps if you love pain, right? Because there's a lot of pain. And if you love it, well, then you're a masochist. And what I've actually realized is we've been sold a lie that being an entrepreneur does not have to be painful. You don't have to accept dysfunction. You can absolutely move to a point. Of course, we call it vision, traction, healthy. Whoops, I whacked the mic there. Vision, emphatically. Vision, traction, healthy, which is clarity and alignment. Discipline and accountability is traction. And healthy is, cohesiveness, harmonious collaboration, being a functional, open and honest leadership team. And so anyone that has accepted this lot in life, that you, in order to be successful as an entrepreneur, you got to just go through, all these hoops and pain, I would say that's just not true.
I was surprised at the difference that going through and implementing the EOS process, and we're only halfway through. We finished our first year. So I can't wait to see where we are at the end of the second year. But it changed my capacity and my patience and tolerance and just having the thought out processes of what are we going to do next? This is how we deal with this. Wait, I know I can deal with this on Friday, so I don't need to panic over this right this second. Just put it on that issues list and come back to it when there's a time.
I read the other day that in one of my other books that I've started but not finished, it says, so a lot of people think or refer to coaching as therapy. And there's a difference. Therapy, so what I read was therapy is about recovery, coaching is about discovery. So we always say 80% of the time, the answer is already in the room. But what I've actually realized is, and I think about you as well, is that you start off with a bunch of people and they're different personalities and they're different capabilities and they're resonating on different frequencies and they have different energy. And what you're actually doing is you're creating some kind of harmonic resonance. You're actually getting everyone to resonate or to radiate at the same level. And I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but the reality is some people are, and it's something we're still going to do, which is a personality assessment. Some people are what's called high fact finders. Some people are high quick starts. I'm a high quick start. I'm a screw it, let's do it. I'm a fire ready aim. Others are ready aim fire. Others want all the facts and want to have all their ducks in a row before making a decision. And in order to actually move forward, you have to get everyone aligned. So some people are going to have to come down, other people are going to have to move up, and you're going to have to meet each other at, on the same level. And so that's kind of the art as opposed to the science, which is the structure, the process. And another like crazy learning for me is I am like a bit of a mad scientist. I look at the structure and sometimes I start breaking out in hives. I'm like, oh, it's going to restrict me. It's going to constrict me. And it's the exact opposite. It actually frees you up because all the confusion and the ambiguity and the misunderstanding, all of that is just, it's gone. So you just get straight to the issue at hand. And that has been like maybe my biggest surprise, that people that consider themselves visionary type actually thrive with structure as opposed to the opposite.
Absolutely. One of my biggest worries, right, was people management and how to help them get the best out of themselves. And that process with EOS was so defined. I didn't have to worry about when to have the meeting. I only had to worry about what to say. So it helped to have the structure to get the result.
Yeah, I feel like almost it's inside baseball, but just seeing how everyone on the leadership team has evolved. That's the thing, has evolved, has found their voice, has, I like to think of we say a leadership team is a team of peers, but I always think of the Avengers. I think of a bunch of superheroes and each one has a different superpower. And when you put them together, there's nothing that they can't achieve or no one that they can't defeat. Thanos is no match for the Avengers. And so if you end up with a team of the same, you could have 9 Hulks on a team, right? Or 7 Captain Americas, you're not going to get too far because the opposition, the enemy, competition will figure you out.
Right.
But it is the diversity of that team, the perspectives of the team that create it's an intangible quality which you just can't emulate.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we've talked about how great it is. Let's define it a little bit. What does the EOS process look like besides Joseph Joffe? Because that's the part that I thought has been very cool. We have peers that work with different implementers. The process is the process for EOS. So how should somebody that's never heard of EOS think about what is EOS?
Well, the beginning is that when you go back to Gino's story, he was one of the founding charter members of EO, which is Entrepreneurs Organization in Detroit. And he kind of got bit by the bug. He realized that he had a real knack for entrepreneurship. He starts to talk to hundreds of entrepreneurs and just listening to them and their pains and their challenges. And he ends up writing down about 135 unique challenges because everyone's like, my business is unique. It's different to yours. And then, the way I describe it is he has a beautiful mind moment, all the very almost psychedelic, I suppose, allegedly. No. And what happens is he realizes that actually there are only about 6 key components. There are 6 buckets or clusters, and your ability to deliver against them, the other 131 just melt away. And so those 6 key components becomes the foundation of the EOS model, which is vision, people, data, issues, process, and traction. Vision at the top, head in the clouds. Traction at the bottom, anchoring, feet on the ground. Vision without traction is hallucination. And so what he does is he cobbles together a set of tools. Mm-hmm. They're simple, they're profound, there's no black box, there's no magic wand, there's no silver bullet. They've been around for 100 years. They'll be around in 1,000 years' time, and creates the entrepreneurial operating system. So it is an operating system, the set of tools and disciplines that allows leadership teams. I mean, the way I look at it now is building strong leadership teams. And then we say, as the leadership team goes, so does the rest of the organization. So once the leadership team of Vision Traction Healthy, we then cascade that through the whole company. And so that's really what it is. It's an operating system. Another way to think about it is a machine, right? Apple, PC, so Mac PC, iOS, that runs on an operating system. What is an operating system? It's a basic set, switches on, switches off, regulates memory, regulates storage. Mm-hmm. There's a fan, and then you download the software and you customize and you personalize, right? Humans run on an operating system. It keeps the blood flowing, the oxygen flowing. We go to sleep, we wake up, thank goodness, one foot in front of the other. And then, of course, we customize and personalize. We go to college, our life experiences, same thing. So it stands to reason that businesses that are run by people who use machines, well, if the people and the machines run on an operating system, why wouldn't a company, why wouldn't a business? And so that's the way I look at it, which is, as I said, there's no black box here. It's so simple. There's
a binder.
There's a
Don't forget it.
But it's not a black binder. It's an orange binder. Everything is orange. But it's true. And I think the thing that I've learned, by the way, every good coach should have their own coach as well. So if you think about it, the world should be running on the ability to remember, we did this exercise called Johari's window. What are the blind spots? What are the things that we don't see about ourselves, but others see? How do we get out of our way? And that's the beauty of a coach. They're not in the game. They're on the sidelines. They see things, they see things that you might miss. So they're cheering you on. They're part cheerleader. They're part drill sergeant. They're kicking your butt when you need it. And they're willing you to be the best version of yourself.
That's awesome.
Getting choked up.
Right? Let's say that's awesome. Like, you couldn't ask for better than that. So when a business owner is thinking about their frustrations and their pain, what are some triggers that they should be noticing to think about EOS?
It's a great question. Gino spoke about the 5 frustrations, which is control, as in the story he tells was entrepreneurs would say, like, I felt like there was a bus hurtling down the road at 60 miles per hour, but I wasn't on the bus. I was chasing the bus. So are you controlling your business? Are you running your business, or is your business running you? The second is profit, not enough. The third, the biggest one, is people issues. You got people, you got issues. The fourth is this concept, and I'll come back to it, of hitting the ceiling. And the fifth is just nothing's working. Just whatever you're doing, nothing's working. So hitting the ceiling, it's the very first thing I taught you, right? Which is, it's built on this, on a study that was done that actually says every business in the history of business. So your business, every business has, is, or will hit the ceiling multiple times. And when you hit the ceiling, there are 3 things that happen. It's like growing pains for a company. You either stagnate, and if you stagnate, it's a slow and steady decline, because if you stand still in this day and age of AI, etc., you're falling back. It's the crash and burn. People get frustrated, they get burnt out, they resign, they get fired, or you break through. And when you break through, so that period of turmoil or conflict or frustration, it's it's like, just get away, just leave me alone. I just need to get this done. Or when we land this client, when we implement this SAP software, when we organize our cash flow, everything's going to be okay. And it never is. So when you break through, that period of smooth sailing is evolution. And when you encounter the chaos, that is revolution. And it is normal. Now, if you can identify and spot that and feel that frustration, that is a moment to basically make a change. But the other thing is, it's not always about, again, the pain and the frustration and we've come as far as we can. It's just businesses that want to level up. Mm-hmm. And often entrepreneurs, they start businesses for reasons other than, well, I wouldn't say reasons other, but they're not actually entrepreneurs or business men or women. They've been handed a business from a parent or a grandparent or right. passed down. I mean, you work with a lot of family-run businesses as well. Or, in my business, in the marketing and advertising side, these are people that were creatives or media people or suits, client service people. So they decide to start their own smaller agency. But they're not business people. They're not entrepreneurs. They have to learn that. And so the ultimate humility is when we know what we don't know. Mm-hmm. And sometimes recognizing that we don't know what we don't know. But when people are arrogant and full of hubris and when they believe that they know what they know, I don't know that we can help them because they're unable to get out of their way. So I think it's that sense of frustration, but it can also be the opposite, which is the impatience, the ambition, that fight. When we developed one of the exercises, what we call your passion, your cause, or your purpose, we say that there are 4 types. There's helping people. There's fixing. It was broken and we fixed it. There is building. We want to build something, better mousetrap. And then there is winning. And winning can just mean we want to win. We want to succeed. Or it can mean when someone wins, someone loses, is defeating the enemy. Now, the enemy could be a person, the enemy could be the 800-pound gorilla, or the enemy can just be status quo or mediocrity. Mm-hmm. And so, like, when you feel that sense, it's time to hopefully call in someone from the outside. And the last thing I'll say is, I'm a huge fan of hiring and growing from within. But we also have to recognize when we need help from the outside. Because Peter Principle, right? People rise to the level of their own incompetence. It's just the way it is. That's part of hitting the ceiling.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have owners all the time that they do their thing really well. They make a really amazing air roasted coffee. They have a great process for creating metal pieces for aerospace. They came up as techs themselves and kind of grew into a business, took over a business from the past founder, bought it from them, whatever. It doesn't mean that they have ever sat down and thought about, how do I run this company? And I was working with a client that unfortunately made the same choice you did with your second business and closed it. But before that, they were trying to kind of fix it themselves, and they only wanted a certain level of help. And I remember saying, so did you talk about this at your firm meeting? And they're like, oh, we don't actually have firm meetings. And when things grow organically, they don't always lead to operational practices. So kind of what are the biggest fallacies that you see kind of out there that should, be a trigger for somebody to think, hey, maybe I need somebody to teach me X, Y, Z?
Well,
what would be missing in their operations? Well,
I'll tell you, when you talk about that business, today I get filled with emotion because I know that if I'd been running on EOS, that business would still be in business today. Like, I know it. And so there's that frustration on my end, which is like, if only there was just, the vision was trapped in my, I'll tell you, like that business was the biggest business idea I ever came up with in my life. And I've come up with lots of ideas, right? It was about the whole essence of it was startups was a matchmaker for startups and brands. What if Kodak acquired Instagram? Might they have survived? What if Marriott had incubated Airbnb? What if Blockbuster had bought Netflix? So the whole essence of it is what would happen if we could reverse engineer the startup from the brand backwards. Because the big companies, I wrote a book called Built to Suck, which is I actually believe that the large corporation is doomed because they're too big, too dysfunctional, too political, too siloed. The only way when you get to a certain size to grow is to buy the growth.
Right.
They're not growing organically. So it has to be something where they buy. It's artificial. And so I was looking, I was like, which companies are growing today? Startups. So what if we could actually, and recognizing, can you tell, like I'm saying this because you can see how much I believed in my idea and how much. So I've never told you this before, but I do a lot of startup mentoring and at that, but I teach startups and I say, your success depends on 4 things. 2 you can control, 2 you cannot. So what you can control is the idea and the execution of that idea. What you can't control is timing and luck. Timing and luck. So timing is about patience. It's about the long game. It's about, and luck is, the more Gary Player said, the more I practice, the luckier I get. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So recognizing as well that, by the way, timing is never on your side as an entrepreneur. 99.99% of all businesses from the beginning of time have failed. And chances are yours will too, unless you're able to get out of your way. If you are in this, first of all entrepreneurs that start businesses are by definition control freaks. You just are.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, especially if you're the only one. So as you know, one of the tools is delegate and elevate to your unique ability. Get rid of the stuff that saps your energy and focus on the stuff that feeds into your superpower. So if you're part of the I alone can fix it, you're just wasting time, precious time that you don't have. There's so many inefficiencies as well. And look, you said it as well. I've worked with clients that didn't even have a leadership team. So number 1 is start the leadership team. Number 2 is have a regular meeting. Number 3 is make that meeting. You know the rules, right? It's same time, same day, every week, starts on time, ends on time, follows the same structure, and there are only 2 excuses to miss, which is death, as in yours, or being on vacation. The L10 meeting, as it's called, the level 10 meeting is called that because eventually our clients, you can testify to it, are rating it a 10. Can you imagine if every week you're having a meeting where you are, what are we doing it? We connect the circles. So we connect with each other personally and professionally. We go over our scorecard, which is our financial and business performance. We go over our rocks, which are our business priorities. We connect with our customers and our employees. We make sure that our to-dos are done. And then we spend a huge chunk of time actually identifying issues at the root cause, discussing them and solving them so that they go away forever for the greater good of the organization. I mean, you can tell, like, I learned this the other day. You know that I'm studying happiness.
Correct.
There is a difference between a job, a career, and a calling. Life is so short, and my belief is that on our deathbed, they say on your deathbed, no one ever said I should have spent more time in the office. I disagree, because these days a lot of us work from home, so, but we should say, I wish I'd spent more time in the office, because what we did made a difference. What we did had meaning. What we did was part of our calling. So all I would say is, if you're an entrepreneur and you're just doing it for the money and nothing else, and like, another thing, I don't know if I told you this the other day, another little matrix I learned is that 2x2 matrix, right? There's this idea of passion and purpose, high and low, and then commitment, low and high. So when you have low passion or purpose, or low meaning and low commitment, that is called drifting. You're just drifting through life. When you have high passion or purpose but low commitment, that's called dreaming. When you have low passion or commitment but high commitment, that is called grinding. That is where most of us find ourselves. But if you have both the passion and the purpose and the commitment, that's living. That is a meaningful existence. Why shouldn't we all get there? I mean, we all should. It's rhetorical.
Yes, we should. So I don't even know how this question resonates with you. This is kind of a standard question, though. If you weren't doing this for your career, if you could change paths and do something completely different, what would you be doing?
I am where I'm meant to be right now. I am in my happy place because I'm working with small and medium businesses and entrepreneurs. I can make a real difference. I mean, we see our clients regularly. 82% of our clients have their best year ever. And once they hit it every year, right? That's the goal. But I have 3 prongs in my life, and they're all connected. I have my talk show, which it is my life force. And now my studies, my happiness studies, are actually part of a very clear, so I'll say 2 things. Number 1 is this idea of run a better business so you can live a better life. So you can live a better life, I'm fascinated by, because it's mental health, it's employee engagement, it's passion, it's purpose. The 2 have to live hand in hand. Otherwise, you'll sell the business and then you'll be like, now what? Now I'm empty. Now what?
Right.
I want to avoid that from happening. I want to make sure that the journey and the destination are in sync, and congruous, if you will. So that's the focus that I'm trying to work on now. It's the run a better business so you can live a better life. That is the essence now. So when I say where would I want to be, I am where I need to be right now, because to me, if I can, my dent in the universe is if I can, on one hand, save even one business from going out of business, but more importantly, if I can help entrepreneurs live the EOS life, and in doing so myself, I mean, why would I want to be anywhere else?
Thank you very much. Anybody that would like to follow up, Joseph's contact information is below. We'll put a link to his own talk show, and feel free to catch up with him there.
And I will see you at our next session.
Yes, I will be there with bells on.